Hello and welcome to Grappers with me, Etta Bradders. This episode, we are going to be taking a look back at Salford City Wrestling's Uprising show that took place probably a couple months now, it feels like, at the sold out Pendlebury Social Club in Swinton. So we will take a look back at that, as well as have a little look ahead to their next show on June the 5th for Friend or Foe. So, obviously, this show is quite mainly due to illnesses or just schedules not particularly working out for anyone. But hopefully on the next Salford show that will be very much different. So unfortunately, you have to yet again hear just from me and watch me being slightly distracted by watching the baseball to my left. But yes, Salford City Wrestling, the 8th show at the Pendlebury Social Club, and the 8th occasion in a row that it saw a sellout crowd. So Salford is one of my favourite promotions to go to. Slight ball ache to get to, even though it's more local than a few promotions I do. Just getting back is normally the problem I find. But Salford itself, really enjoyable promotion, which is why I've done everyone to date. But I'll discuss more on my thoughts on the promotion at the end of the show. So let's get into it, shall we? We begin with Dekker making his entrance. We are then joined by the King of Salford in Troy Ryan as he gives a royal speech, as he says that Big T, who was originally scheduled to face Dekker, was not there because he is on holiday. Injury is technically a holiday, but they did very well to kind of like cover that up. Vesper was in France, so they said he was on royal business. Again, really well covered up. So Ryan practically says none of the monarchy are here, and this leads to Dekker pretty much asking a good question. Well, why don't I just face you then? To which Ryan is not all about that and says, I don't want to deprive the subjects of Salford not seeing Dekker. However, he says, I'm not facing you because so he's not facing him. Effectively, he's doing heelish things in a very heelish way. However, he says he will have Dekker face someone from the monarchy, and we get a brand new face to Salford City Wrestling. As Troy Ryan says, he has someone who loves money and also is quite the hitman. It's not Bret Hart, just to let you know. So we start off with match number 1, Dekker against the mercenary in Declan McCarthy. Seeing Deck come out had me immediately interested in this contest, because seeing him going up against Dekker, it was a match I didn't know I wanted to see, but I'm very glad I saw it. So the notes I have. So Declan, as you would expect, dominates this contest early on, being the mercenary that he is. Very quickly establishes himself as being very much like a hitman and employed by Troy. Dekker, though, fights back, takes it to his foe, only to have McCarthy re-establishing control and proceeds to target the leg of the unforgettable one. I can't read my writing. Targets the leg of the unforgettable one, is what I meant to say. As the taller wrestler in this match is obviously brought down to size as the mercenary goes to work. Dekker will fight back in this and whips his opponent from corner to corner diagonally, having McCarthy in a bit of bother. After he hits a full Nelson slam on Declan, it looks like he's setting up for his, I think it's called the hair of the dog, which is kind of like a pedigree. King Troy is very alert to this, jumps onto the ring apron, distracts Dekker, and from that point, we see Declan crawling to the far side of the ring and proceeds to grab a. Oh, I just put that in. There you go. Proceeds to grab a steel chair from under the ring and hits his opponent square in the back, trying to take out Dekker, and successfully does so, putting his leg in the folded chair and comes down on it, leaving Dekker writhing in agony, while Troy gives Declan an envelope of money as a payment for doing a great job. We then have a awkward but equally hilarious moment, as while Dekker is being helped to the back, having had his ankle destroyed by Deck and Troy. They blast the tune One Step Beyond by Madness. Obviously, Dekker can hardly put any weight on one of his legs. But it is to signify that the Banter bus have come out. But we were kind of laughing at how slightly insensitive that could have been to someone that's literally cannot walk, and now you're playing this. But Jeebus and Mr. Ogden, who I was stood with, we did find that quite humorous, if truth be told. So we then have the Banter bus come out, as I say, and Danny Proper just calls out King Troy as he kind of sits in his throne. GQ magazine, and has Danny Proper calling His Highness, quote, sausage fingers, which leads to Ryan trying not to laugh. He managed to stifle that, it would be fair to say. So he says, let's have a tag match. But obviously, Troy Ryan does not have a tag partner, with Vesper away, Big T not there, and McCarthy's having just had a match. So what we saw was another debut, this time in Peter Sedhor. He came out in his drip, that is Canadian, and we pretty much had a tag team match with Danny Proper and Tom Thelwell taking on King Troy and Peter Sedhor. before a punch or kick is thrown in this contest, we see Uncle Ryan, the third member of the Banter bus. He kind of sneakily, like the Grinch, finds his way on the stage, grabs King Troy's crown, puts it on his head, and has a chorus of "He's Our King" bellowing through the Pendlebury Social Club, which seemed to catch Uncle Ryan out because I don't think he expected it. Actually, I take that back. I know he didn't expect that because he told me. So that was a nice little moment. The match itself, I have a few notes. So Sedhor, a couple of times in this contest, tags himself in, much to the bemusement of Troy Ryan. The first time leads to Proper and Thelwell taking over. Uncle Ryan has now stole the Canadian flag that Sedhor brought out. Ryan then comes back in, sees him and Proper having a proper slapping meat contest as they kind of run into each other, try to barge the other out of the way. Sedhor again tags himself in. Troy is not happy with this. Thelwell and Proper tag. Tom kind of loosely sneaks over, telling the crowd to be quiet. And upon Sedhor turning around, is drilled in the chin by Tom. Again, this then leads to Troy coming back into the contest, restoring the momentum for his team, and begins to take it on poor Tom. Sedhor then runs the ropes, going as fast as he can, which we're all expecting a big move, and results in him just standing in front of Tom and giving him a gentle, playful slap. We then see Tom drilling Sedhor once again in the face. Troy gets tagged back in, but on this occasion it sees Thelwell hitting a nail in the coffin kind of move. I could say Michinoku driver, but it looked more like the nail in the coffin. So this then sees Troy rolling out and has Uncle Ryan giving him the verbals, which was quite humorous. Danny Proper then comes in, cleans house, nails a fisherman's suplex on Sedhor. However, he is then caught in an unprettier / kill switch, whichever you prefer, with Sedhor landing it successfully. Thelwell then hits a big spear on Troy, follows it up with a bounce off the rope lariat to Peter Sedhor. Troy then breaks up the count, elbowing referee Stu Davis. And while this is all happening, we see Sedhor low-blowing Tom. Then we have a 2-on-1 against Danny Proper. And while Troy gets a chair and looks like he's going to smash Danny's head in, we have Uncle Ryan trying to stop that taking place. He gets effectively face-pied. And then, as it looks like Ryan is about to swing the chair on Proper, Jack Johnson makes his long-awaited return, distracts Troy, and leads to Danny Proper rolling up Peter Sedhor for the win. So we have the Banter bus picking up the victory, with Troy furious with his partner, and continues on with Jack Johnson grabbing the microphone, cutting an impassioned speech about Salford wrestling and how he wants to kind of like bring it up, and how he is Salford Wrestling. Even going as far to say that the crown that Troy has corrupted his brain. He used to be someone that put all the effort in. It was all the hard work. And since he's become king, it's kind of completely let all the hard work go away and just likes to do things on as easy as he can with no real hard work. He then goes on, challenges Troy, to which King Ryan then gets the microphone himself, calls Johnson an urchin and a thorn in his side, agrees to facing Jack Johnson again for the King of Salford. However, it will be done on his terms, not Jack's, and has him having to go through a King's Gauntlet if he wants to face Troy one more time. More on that later on. So we come to match number 3, I should say, as we have the leading man, Tony Wright, against the vigilante in Bentley. This was one match I was really looking forward to, and you know, it did not disappoint, if truth be told. So, two people with very different movesets. Tony is all about the mechanics and kind of the technical side. Bentley is pretty much brute strength and kind of physical, go straight into things. So as we enter the match, it sees Bentley having the upper hand at the start. Tony will fight back, lands a hip attack off Brett's rope. Bentley whips Tony into the corner, which sees him almost kind of bouncing straight back out to Bentley. Tony yanks the leg of Bentley, who is stood on Brett's rope, and sees the vigilante kind of jumping off the rope and going face first into the ropes. This leads to the leading man having the advantage, and drops an elbow just for good measure. A ripcord clothesline from Tony sees him then beginning to target the neck and shoulder area of his opponent. But a neck breaker by Bentley, and followed by a couple of kind of running blocks, shoulder blocks, and then a cross body from Tony is rolled into an attempted fall-away slam from Bentley. But Tony is very agile, manages to kind of like reverse mid-air, lands on his feet, and hits a DDT. Bentley then hits a float-over DDT himself. Wright can sense that Bentley is looking for a spear, knocks him down to his knees, gives him a super kick to the face for a near fall. And then soon after, coming to the back end of this match, Bentley catches Tony doing a super kick, then hits a running shin or knee to the head of Tony Wright and picks up the victory. However, after the match, it sees Bentley putting his hand out in a show of sportsmanship. Tony looks at the hand, looks like he's going to shake it, and then decides no, and takes off onto the stage. Looks like he's going to come back and have a change of heart, but the frustration in the match just has him continuing to walk through the curtain and has Bentley not too happy, kind of more bemused, I'd say. over the decision of Tony to walk off. And he's very, very much on Wright-like. But I'm sure we'll see how things pan out next time on the show. We then come to Natalie Sykes taking on Leah Raven. Again, the women's division in Salford is, for me, one of the most highly contested and really interesting storyline developments I've seen across the whole Salford shows over the last few months. We'll kind of touch on that a bit later. But as I said, it's Natalie Sykes and Leah Raven. We see Sykes starting off with the mind games, not wanting to kind of mix it up with Leah so early on. Goes outside, winds a few kids up, being very much the rule breaker that she is, but God love her. Both take turns having momentum swings in this contest. Raven hits a lovely Hurricane Rana on Natalie, which sends Sykes out of the ring, which pleases the locals. Raven is then whipped violently into the middle rope, where Sykes proceeds to hit a drop kick to the back of her opponent. Sykes is in control at this point, but Raven tries to force a comeback, but Sykes is always kind of like a step ahead and cuts her off every time. 2 running back elbows from Sykes to Raven in opposite corners sees her kind of gaining more momentum in this match. Lands a near fall, but Leah is not done. We see Raven then fighting back, hits a clothesline, followed by a sling blade, before hitting a backstabber in on the ropes to pretty much see her coming more into this contest. Leah's leg is then worked upon by Sykes and sees her very quickly looking to capitalize on this as she hits a half crab. Raven then takes back over, and as it looks like she's going to hit a double arm hook or a double arm DDT, Sykes very quickly rolls her up into a pinning attempt and picks up the victory. Oh, someone tries to message me. We then very quickly moved on to Lily Winter and Saxa, as Saxa has the early dominance in this contest, but Lily Winter drops her opponent head across the top rope and begins to see this contest moving in her favour. Winter taunts the kids, which, I mean, on going to family shows and seeing the rule breakers winding up kids, it's an absolute joy, especially when the kids get extremely annoyed and violent to a fine degree. But all it does is, while Lily is kind of like telling kids to shut up and kind of making like cry things, Saxa rolls her up, but only gets 2. But she is soon back down on the mat as Lily regains control. Saxa fights back, hits a tornado DDT, which gets a near fall. She then hits I've said a 619. It was effectively a 619, but I thought I would change it. She goes to try it again, but gets a big boot to the chops. Winter then pulls referee Reese in the way as Saxa looks to spear the cold one. Winter then hits frostbite on Saxa, but the referee is down. Winter then gets a bit overconfident, goes over to the stage area, grabs the phone of Natalie Sykes, which is still there, and sees her going to hit Saxa with it. Saxa kicks her in the gut. Winter drops the phone. Saxa then picks up the phone, uses it against her opponent, and takes a cheeky selfie. This all leads to Saxa hitting the 619, or as I'm calling it, the Sax 19, and leads to a win over Lily Winter. So, the two women's matches, they have tried to entwine. Almost feels these four women over the last couple of shows, because if you recall, last November, for the coronation show, it saw Lily Winter taking on Alfie for the Queen of Salford, and unfortunately for Lily, she did not beat Alfie. She lost, and Lily still holds Natalie Sykes. Practically blames her for the defeat, and ever since then we've seen this kind of alliance they had falling apart with every show that goes by. But now it's become a case of almost like a friendly rivalry of one-upswomanship, to which we've had, I think, Winter beat Raven, and then I think Saxa beat Sykes. So they're almost trying to one-up the other person. And again, all four of these women are going to be part of a tag team match on the next show at Friend or Foe. So we're going to have another case of all these four women entwined yet again as we look towards having this tournament that we are meant to be having for the Women's Championship. And again, this belt that Salford have produced is easily one of my favourite belts anywhere. We then come to your main event, which was a 6-man tag with Connor Patrick Reilly, with the bigger picture in Nishki and Mighty Joe Young, as they took on the team of the Zubaweights in Philip Michael and Jack Barron, and their partner in Alex Boylin. The amount of notes I actually have is quite ridiculous. So we start with the fight spilling all over the venue, effectively. We have Barron and Young fighting at the back of the room, and then end up fighting at the bar. I think Barron and Young almost looking like they were trying to get a drink, which they weren't, but it looked like that. Boylin chops Reilly on the outside by the ring apron. Michael and Nishki fight right near the stage area. And this goes on for a good kind of like 3-4 minutes of this contest. We finally get the action in the ring, and we see our first of the Jurassic stomps as Nishki is in the ring with the Zubaweights. Both Philip Michael and Jack Barron stand on the fingers of Nishki, as Nishki, having been stood on, gives it the T-Rex. And then we have Joe Young suffering the same fate before we have Michael and Nishki fighting yet again before we have Barron and Young. And it's utter carnage yet again. All of them fight back near the stage area. We see the match beginning to properly settle down as we have the bigger picture and Reilly taking control in this wild brawl of a contest. Zubaweights are very slow to get back to their corner as they have pretty much suffered at the hands of the bigger picture. Boylin definitely needs to tag out at this point. The Zubaweights have thankfully composed themselves and have recovered. Boylin gets the tag with Philip Michael, I believe it was, but ref Stu Davis does not see this because it is a blind tag in his opinion. Eventually, though, Philip Michael gets the hot tag, hits a bulldog, and attempts an acid drop. But Young fights out, and we see both men having the same idea, and we have a double clothesline. Barron then gets tagged in, and he hits he plays house effectively. Back and forth runs to diagonal corners with splashes and running back forearms to the bigger picture. He then hits a buff blockbuster off Brett's rope to get a near fall. Young hits a bookend, as I've called it, on Barron. Boylin then comes back in and nails Connor with a spine buster. A bigger picture hits a double T move, which is a drop kick slash kind of front face DDT. That only gets a near fall. The Zubaweights then hit a code breaker slash code red combo. Boylin hits a pile driver, but Reilly comes in to stop the count, and also it's a running knee into the back of Boylin's head with all the mess that's going on in the ring. Reilly then hits a second running knee to the back of Alex Boylin's head, and that is all she wrote. Victory goes to Connor Patrick Reilly and the bigger picture. They revel in their victory. And that's practically how we end this show, with the bad guys taking the victory. This was an absolutely insane main event. I was going to say you couldn't take your eyes off it, but you could because there was so much going on. The crowd lapped this up massively. A brawl to start it, and a brawl to kind of like end it as well, if truth be told. This was a whole lot of fun. I get the feeling, see these six men come to odds again. We definitely will with a couple of people, which we will touch on in a very brief moment. But yes, this was a really good match. Again, utter chaos, which I am here for. And despite it not being what the fans wanted to see in the end, I feel it does help set things up on future shows. So I'm all about kind of like what is going to transpire. Um, but all that said, that is the end of that particular show. And as I mentioned earlier, their next uh, offering is on June the 5th, Friend or Foe, again at the Pendlebury Social Club. But if you do not have a ticket, you will not get in because it is a sellout for the ninth time and keeps up their 100% record of being a sold out promotion. So the matches we have as of recording is Tony Wright against Nishki, Lily Winter and Natalie Sykes taking on Saxa and Leah Raven. That I feel is going to add more meat onto the bone in terms of where we're going to go with the women's championship tournament down the line. A surprising match with the Zubaweights against Banter, which should be a whole lot of fun. We have Jack Johnson going up against Jensen Vesper in what I take it is going to be the opening match of the King's Gauntlet. Again, if Johnson beats Vesper, then he will continue in this gauntlet to help set up a match against Troy Ryan. And one that isn't set in stone, but I feel it's where they are going with it. And that is Mighty Joe Young and Alex Boylin. I say that's where they're going with it due to Young cutting a promo on Boylin. So I will be very surprised if that is not the route we go down. But it's definitely a very good looking card. A couple of matches I am very interested to see. The Zubaweights and Banter could be a whole lot of fun. But yes, we may get one more match added, I feel. But considering it's a sellout crowd, they don't particularly have to push a extra match. But yeah, I am really looking forward to the next Salford show. Again, I think I put it down as one of my favorite promotions last year. Just missed the cut for promotion of the year from last year. But they produce so many great shows. Mine's suddenly gone blank. But yeah, this is the ninth show, as I've mentioned. 9 sellouts, so not too shabby. Something to be proud of is Salford City Wrestling, and all it continues to do is to get better and better and better. And I think 2026 could even be better than it has from the previous years. It's only going to get better, really. Take a drink every time I say the word better, and you'll be on your backside. That said, that is the end of this particular review. That was Salford City Wrestling Uprising. Next show is June 5th. Friend or foe, I cannot wait. I have been Petter Bradders. Thank you for listening and giving me your time. Again, a very short show, which is what you're going to get when it's a one-man show. But for now, at least, if you're going to a show, I hope you have a good time. And also, if you do go, try not to be a dick, because we don't like dicks. But other than that, I will see you very soon, because we should have a North Wrestling review, and hopefully that will be tomorrow. But for now, thank you for listening, watching. I've got the sound visual form, and good night.